Hey, and this is a retro review of the headsets passed down to us from our ancestors. Just 4 years ago, we had a pretty limited selection, devices for VR games. Either spend a fat wad of cash on PC VR pleasures like HTC or Pimax, or get a cheap fancy Quest 2, which is what almost everyone did. And only true crazies went for the obscure Pico Neo 3. The point of getting headsets from the past, there are generations in 2025. They end up being significantly cheaper. Personally, when it comes to choosing a VR headset, I'm all for saving up a bit more money and buying a modern VR headset. With pancake lenses, after experiencing them, I just can't, and don't want to go back to the old visuals anymore. Understand, and don't judge people who are looking at used Quest 2s and Pico Neo 3s. I myself once bought a super cheap Bush. It was cheaper because of the defective lenses, but I just couldn't afford to buy a new and decent one back then. Also, people who are looking at budget headsets may have doubts. You can grab something off the shelf for half the price, see what it's all about, and even finish it completely. Half-Life Alyx, and now even by a competitor of the second Quest, Pico Neo 3. It's said to have all the same features, just without all the hassle. What's better, and which budget headset should you get in 2025? I declare, a battle between the Pico Neo 3 and the Quest 2. For every plus, I'll give a point to one headset or the other. Enjoy the show. Pico Neo 3, when it was still relevant, passed me by. That's why I tried it for the first time literally at the end of last year. At the first acquaintance, I had only one word: clumsy. The helmet has a soft mount with a battery located on the back of the head. The wire is located at the top and is disguised as a strap. There is no twist to tighten the fastener. To adjust the fit of the helmet, we have a top strap that can be adjusted in 2 positions. It's not very convenient to stick a little dick in there, but you have to do it once and forget about it. The main adjustment is made using the side Velcro straps. It takes some time to get used to this system. Still, using the dials at the back is way easier and more convenient. Plus, I've accidentally hit myself in the head with the battery a couple of times. And that's not all. I was thinking the headset would sit on me like this, but in this position, my eyes start to strain because the sweet spot isn't aligned properly. To fix this, I need to pull the headset literally down onto my nose, my eyes. To fix this, I have to pull the helmet literally down over my nose. And that's when the picture is more or less decent. I think that's a fatal flaw. Ergonomics. The default adjustment of these rubber bands on the Quest 2 is also not the most convenient, but this can be easily solved by purchasing a different mount. There are a billion options on the market. You can find something that fits your comfort and budget. And good luck trying to find anything for the Neo 3. I checked out the accessories on AliExpress, and there are no solutions for improving the strap for the Neo 3. So in terms of customization, 1 inch. Use Quest 2. It's worth noting that wearing the Neo 3 with the stock straps right out of the box is more comfortable than the Quest with its stock straps. Because the battery on the back of the head balances the mass and the helmet, does not press on the face from above on the peak, button, power, and Type-C. On the side there are buttons for controlling the helmet without controllers. At the bottom there is volume and a 3.5mm jack. I can still agree with the USB-C being on top. The engineering thought behind it was probably to make it easy to connect to an amp and plug in that cable. Up to the retractor, connector, is epic fail. Who thought it was a good idea to put it on the bottom? Just look at how lame wired headphones look. The IPD adjusts to 3 positions, just like on the Quest 2. Just slide the lenses with your hands. The interpupillary distance values are roughly the same for them. Right now, I'm not going to dive into the numbers. Check out these funny controllers. The ring is positioned high up and forward. The handle is longer than on the Quest controllers, which is nice for people with medium to large hands. The buttons are standard, just like everywhere else. One controller runs on 2 AA batteries. I'm not a big fan of the plastic they used here. The controllers look and feel cheap compared to the Quest ones, but they feel really good in the hand. To make the controllers fit even better in your hands, there are special accessories. They're called controller covers. For the Peak Quest, special straps are made so that the controller can be fixed in the hand. You can relax your hand at any time. On the handles of the covers, they usually make the texture better and more pleasant than on the controllers for a better grip. Hands often sweat during play, so to prevent anything from slipping, they make serrations. Cases with extended handles are also available. In terms of numbers, the Neo 3 and QS2 are neck and neck. On paper, the resolutions are the same. The field of view differs by a couple of degrees. In theory, the image should be the same, but in practice, it differs from one another. On the Pico, it seems like you can see the pixel grid less. On the Quest 2, it's a bit more pronounced. Both helmets have Prino lenses. In a time when pancakes and lenses exist, this feels like a downgrade. On the Quest, these lenses produce more God rays. From bright elements, especially white ones, it seems like there's an unpleasant glow coming off them. On the Note 3, it's just. The chromatic aberrations are terrible, and the sweet spot is noticeably smaller. I prefer the color reproduction on the Quest 2. To sum it up, I definitely prefer the Quest's image, even with the drawbacks I've mentioned. Add to my experience that the Neo 3 covers my nose and makes me uncomfortable. In terms of the operating system, the Neo 3 Peak is almost identical to the Peak 4. As far as I can see, the only difference is that Neo 3 has the ability to turn on 120 Hz, but the new Pico models support a maximum of 90. If there are any other features, they're minor and not worth focusing on. I'm not going to do it right now. The headset arrived, of course, with the Chinese firmware. We bought it in China. It's very easy to flash it to the European version. The guide is the same as for the Pico 4, just don't bother checking the OEM and downloading the necessary firmware for the Neo 3. The software is still supported, and updates are coming to Neo 3. You can enable hand tracking on it and even connect new Pico trackers. The Pico operating system is really good, I just wish I had more of it. Here, it's just about finding the right settings. Overall, it's top-notch. I haven't encountered any critical issues the whole time. I have serious questions about the support and operating system for the Quest. Lately, there have been some ridiculous firmware updates with serious bugs. For example, on the 68th firmware, the interface disappeared, and to get it back, you had to turn off the Wi-Fi. The 72nd firmware completely bricked the Quest 2. In that regard, the Quest is incredibly annoying. Well-deserved. Point. We give Pico credit for their support with updates and their stability. Well, you could also get a headset from the Chinese. Its activation is much simpler and more straightforward. I'm not going to give Pico a point for easier activation since that's not really their achievement. When it comes to activation, I want to point out that Pico doesn't force you to download a mobile app and link it to the headset. They don't force you to create a Pico Worlds account and do other voluntary compulsory activities. You just need to create an account, and it's easier and faster than with Meta. People are currently buying the Quest 3 and complaining about the low quality of the pass-through cameras. I think they just haven't seen what it was like before. Back then, everything was black and white and in much lower quality. After seeing the new headsets, looking at this one is painful and unpleasant. The cameras in both headsets are crap. But in comparison with Quest 2, Peak has worse through cameras. They show a very dark picture. It's really hard to make out anything. In terms of interesting features, the Quest is, of course, the leader. Even on the Quest 2, there's multitasking, the ability to set up multiple VR monitors, direct, touch, travel mode, and so on. The latest thing I liked and that I use myself is the adaptive brightness for dark locations and seamless multitasking. The second one is just awesome. So, you're just sitting there playing some Tropica or putting together 3D puzzles in puzzling places while also watching a video on YouTube. The hand tracking on the Meta headset is incredible, as good as it can get in a budget headset. The only thing that might compare in quality is the Apple Vision Pro. You can probably get the hang of using your hands with the Pico, but after using the Quest, it really annoys me. The Neo 3 has a secret weapon, namely compatibility with the new Pico trackers. We did a big review on them, stuff, very cool, cheap and, most importantly, they are easy. Connect and calibrate. The story may be niche, but if you're a fan of VR chat or you want to kick women with your feet, in Blade and Sorcery, those trackers are a must-have for you. Meta does not officially have any tracking solutions. Anything other than hand. About a year ago they said, well, why do we need your trackers? We will have better ones. We will have AI-based foot tracking. And where is it? I don't know a single app with that system. You can only do full body tracking on the Quest with third-party solutions. Right now, the most popular system is Slime VR. We don't have it, but according to reviews, the tracker's Peak is better and works more stably. Another point goes to Pico. Because I hate sharing a point with the Eastern teams. Yeah, you really shouldn't have to share a point with anyone. It's tough to compete with the Quest when it comes to the number of VR games. This is a leading platform. Almost all apps are required to be released on the Quest. If you watch VR news on our channel every week, then you know that at the end, I announce the new VR games. And in this section, the word peak is heard extremely rarely. And while some games are still coming out for the Chinese headset, lately there have been fewer and fewer of them. Pegmot, Metro, and Alien decided not to be released at the peak. Also, the Neo 3 has a ton of games and apps that are on the Pico 4 and Ultra. They're just not supported. For example, there's no Arizona Sunshine 2 or Walking Dead 2. If we talk about games not from the official store, Peak has a big problem with this on the latest firmware. You either have to dance around with a drum or stick to the old firmware versions. But many games and apps don't work without the updates. If I start talking about this whole topic right now, you'll fall asleep. All the details are laid out in full color on Pico. As funny and paradoxical as it sounds, the best games are the ones not from the store. Pico has exclusives for Quest. These unofficial ports are released by an enthusiast with the nickname CRX. They install easily on any firmware, on any model of Pico, and there are no questions about it. There are way fewer of them compared to the games under the black flag. Not all the games from Quest are in the CRX channel catalog, but you'll find the main interesting titles there. We even managed to run it smoothly on Neo 3. The exclusive for the third Quest is Batman Arkham Shadow, but keep in mind that it even lags on more powerful headsets. On Neo 3, inside, you have to come to terms with it and accept it as a fact. I think if you're looking for a cheap headset, you should definitely consider saving money on games. So, everything is great with the Yuha content on Quest. You only need to spend some time activating developer mode, and it opens up a world of games with 100% discount through convenient apps with a full catalog. The tracking on the Pico Neo 3 is actually at a really good level. In the standalone mode of Beat Saber, the controllers are tracked. Excellent, about the same as on the Quest. There are rare glitches, from the top, from the side, but the Quest has the same issue. This is a limitation of the inside-out tracking technology. In complete darkness, neither headset works. If we talk about low light, then Quest 2 wins here. It can work just fine in dim light, while the Neo 3 starts complaining about a lack of light in the same conditions. I had no questions about the Quest 2 headset in terms of co-VR. I have already gained enough experience in VR clubs, at home, and at events. Through the Steam VR Link or virtual desktop app, after adjusting the bitrates and other settings, everything works smoothly with minimal lag. There are people who don't want to buy and mess around with routers, so for them, you need to get a cable and just deal with it. It was interesting to test the Pico Neo 3 while working with a PC. As for the Wi-Fi experience, it is impossible to play Beat Saber on the official Pico Connect software. With virtual desktop the situation is better, but compared to Quest the controllers still don't feel as precise in space. By the way, Pico 4 and Pico 4 Ultra performed better in the same conditions in terms of tracking accuracy. I don't know what that could be related to or why. The Note 3 works worse with a computer than the newer models. Over-the-wire situation with tracking in Neo 3. Overall, it's about the same. I was happy with the image quality. The only thing I'm not happy with is the placement of the USB port. But it's just inconvenient. I keep hitting the cable with my hand. Here you definitely need to install a system with a retractor so that the wire is suspended at the top. So, if you don't need the Steam version of Beat Saber, then the Neo 3 is a decent option for PC. I was pleased with my experience playing LFO, Vegemod, and Blade and Sorcery in Neo 3. However, in this block, the Quest performed better in every way. With the Pico, I can only point out that it has a faster and simpler connection through the official software. The Quest has both quality and stability of connection. So, the score goes back to it. So, it turns out, it won. Here are all the reasons why I would choose Quest 2 if I had to ask myself how. You can buy a cheap VR headset, even with the internet issues and bugs in the new firmware. Speaking of budget VR, I should mention another affordable headset, the Quest 3S. It's a more modern device. It has all the new features from the flagship Quest 3. It runs all the new standalone exclusives, and the display and lenses are taken from the second Quest, which is why it's cheaper. Honestly, the new one will come out about twice as expensive as the second Quest and the Neo 3. And that's the price for the headset without the mount. So you also need to add some coins for an alternative mount to the final price. In our review of the Quest 3S, I mentioned the following thought. If you're buying your first VR headset and want to do it as cheaply as possible, then go for the Quest 3S. It will give you standalone VR games with a bit of a boost. The graphics are nice, and the colorful Mister mode is great. Controllers without rings, exclusives, and the confidence that this device will be supported for the next few years. 5. There are not many exclusives, of course, but they will accumulate. Every year, now you can find Pico 4, which is 100 times better than Nutri and already at a higher level. Pancake lenses. As always, everyone has their own individual situation, and the choice is entirely up to you. If that price difference is crucial for you, then the Quest 2. It'll also be a decent option to start with. It's still being supported for now. In the Steam.VR user ratings, it is in first place, and updates. It's still getting updates. Also, if you are sure that you will only play on KVR, then there is no difference between Quest 2 and Quest 3S. As a budget KVR headset, the Quest 2 is a perfectly fine option. Tell me what you think about it. Do you support buying the Quest 2, or is it better to save up for the Quest 3? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't lose track of us. Give us a thumbs up and see you in the future.